Hello and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my process for scrapbooking my trip to PEI, my recent trip to Prince Edward Island. These pages will go in my travel project life album and not my regular project life for the year. And so for that reason, these are going to be quite a bit more detailed than my project life pages typically are in my week to week or month to month. However you want to scrap it or document it. And so for that reason, these pages took place over the course of, like the scrapbooking of these pages took place over the course of 3 different days over an entire week. And so there will be a series of these videos, and today's video is only going to really show the background in terms of the prep work that I have to do for setting out my photos in my pages. So I'll just share with you what that process is like. As you can see, I start off by spreading out my photos. So I have my photos already piled in these little piles according to the days and the stories that I want to be telling. And so when I do travel, I typically do document it day by day and try to keep it in pretty good chronological order, although I don't always worry about chronological order with my everyday scrapbooking. So travel is a little bit different for me. These photos are very similar, so I'm just going to pick the nicest one and keep that. And I did run out of Becky Higgins Design A page protectors. I don't know exactly how I did that because I thought I had enough to last until the end of time. It certainly felt like it 5 or 6 years ago, but somehow I unexpectedly came to the end of my stash of those Design A page protectors. So now I'm using these other page protectors, which are they're Design H that I'm using. They're just the 4x6 photos, and that's easy enough for me to kind of put amongst my Design A. And so as you can see, I'm just trying to space out my photos and my stories so that the photos that go together will be together, and trying to make it so that I don't have to turn a page to see the rest of the photos that go with one particular outing or one particular story. I'm trying to decide here. You know, I've got several photos from this yellow coffee shop house here, and I'm kind of trying to decide how they're going to go so that I'm leaving spaces for some journaling, some spaces for some title cards, and also space for some just filler and that sort of thing. So this is a clipping from a pamphlet. So we didn't get many pamphlets because of COVID. They weren't giving out many things, but I did manage to snag a little brochure. And this is a wristband from an activity that we went to. So I do try to capture some ephemera from my trips and keep them together and incorporate them into my pages. And sometimes, especially with that amusement park photo, the photographer who took that got a much better shot than what I could ever get. So it captures the park instead of me, you know, documenting 6 or 7 pictures that show all the rides. That one photo has all of the main rides that I was interested in making sure that we talked about. So that kind of keeps it more simple for me. And at this point, I'll make these pages as long as they need to be for the number of photos that I have. So I don't have an end in mind. I'm just trying to space them comfortably and just see how many pages it takes up. So again, I'm kind of pulling in the ephemera when I need it. And this is a cow's creamery. We didn't actually go to the creamery, but we did eat cow's ice cream, and I did not get a picture of the ice cream or the place that we went or us ordering or around there or anything. So I do want to include that cow's ice cream, I guess, pull out from the travel brochure. And then all of these photos are from the same climbing event that we went to. So I'll be putting those in like this. I just want to not have too many photos together. I want to spread them around with journaling cards and title cards and filler cards in between. So I'm just at this point leaving some space for them. And I've printed all of my photos. My horizontal photos I print at 4x6, most of them. And my vertical photos I print at 2.8 by 3.8, which makes them fit into the 3x4 pockets here. And then sometimes if I have a horizontal photo that either it isn't as nice or it's a smaller story that I don't want to have quite as much of a spotlight, then I will print it at 1.8 by 2.8, which allows it to fit horizontally in a 3x4 pocket. And I think I might have one square photo in this bunch of photos, and those I print at 3.8 by 3.8, so it'll fit in a 4x6 card pocket. So this is just some more little pieces from the brochures, lots of photos from the farm, and then I have this little packet of sand. PEI is known for its red sands, and so I have this little pocket of sand that it actually came with a little starfish, a little dried starfish inside of it that I've already put in the mudroom. We keep starfish in the mudroom for some reason, and one of them broke, so Liv wanted to buy another starfish from PEI, and we weren't so interested in getting the sand, but since I did have a little baggie of sand, I thought it looked about the same size as a 3x4 pocket, so I thought I would put it in one of those and see if I want to kind of use it as a little interesting detail. I did print more of some of these photos than I need because I was hoping to do a couple of 12 by 12 pages or include them in my everyday pocket pages as well. So you see me kind of pulling out some of the repetitive ones, and I'm just keeping them aside so that I can include them, because basically I want to be able to, in my chronologic 2020 album, I want to be able to say, oh, and we went to PEI this weekend, and then I'll know to go look at my travel album if I want to see more details about what the trip was like. So in my pocket pages for this week, I will just include the highlights, like maybe 1 or 2 photos and a journaling card that sums up the trip pretty succinctly. So I'm making some space here. I can't remember what I'm doing here. Right. I decided that rather than span a page where I have to flip it, I'm going to move these photos over and put them in an insert so that they can, basically things were too crowded and I wasn't giving myself enough space for telling the stories that go along with these photos. So that's why I'm shifting everything around a little bit here. So now I'm just going to flip through and see if I have enough room. I'm just kind of counting my stories out and thinking about what's going to go where. And what am I doing here? Oh yes, so I decided that all of these photos from the coffee shop would make a good backside of an insert. And so some of my inserts are Becky Higgins inserts that are design H. Wait a second. It's design C. I'm sorry. So the page that has 6 4x6 pockets in it is design C, and then design H is the 6x12 inch pocket page that is like basically a half of an A, design A. And so I'm going to use that as an insert, and then in some other places I'm just using a 6x12 single pocket, and those are actually by Studio Calico, and the holes are punched differently, so I'm going to have to go back and use one of my hole punches to fix the holes. So that's all done, and now I've decided that I'm going to have a look at some of my supplies here. So I'm looking here at the July Ellie Edwards kit, and this one is actually not going to meet my needs very well. So the colors aren't quite what I'm looking for, so I'm going to put that aside. And I have here the Ellie Edwards Rome Story Kit. That's most of what I'm using for these pages. So all of these cards that you see me going through right now and spacing out, they're all from the Rome story kit from Ali Edwards, which I think was the kit for August. And so I'm just looking at the embellishments and I'm looking at the cards and I'm just sticking cards in any place that I see fit. As you can see, it's a bit of an experimental process here where I'm just shifting things around if they don't look quite right. I want to have a balance of space for journaling and also some of those quotes that come in the Ali Edwards kits. Oh, those wood veneer phrases, by the way, like you can see them at the top, sunshine, and I think one says carefree or something. Those are not from the kit. Those are from my own stash from some other place. So now I'm not actually scrapbooking yet. I'm still just kind of spacing and planning things out. So I'm trying to figure out cards to put in all of the backgrounds of the photos that don't fill up any pockets, and also basically I'm filling in all the gaps with cards. So I really like how that looks, those diagonal stripes with my fish and chips photo. It looks quite nice. I like the coloring. I'm just also reaching into the August Stories by the Month kit, which is not travel themed. So the Rome kit is of course travel themed. It just worked out well that the August kit was travel themed and I traveled in August. I find that the August Stories by the Month kit coordinates quite nicely from a color perspective, and because these pages did take place during August, some of those cards are going to be relevant as well. But as you can see, some of the colors are just too bright, so I'm taking out any, and I think that this is the July kit that I'm digging into here, and there are some cards in that I think are going to work well, so I'm just pulling out anything. So as you can see, I'm drawing from the July Stories by the Month kit, the August Stories by the Month kit, and the August Rome Story kit, all from Ali Edwards. And I will pull from my stash quite a bit as I go along as well. So basically at this point, I'm just trying to make sure that I have enough cards to back everything that needs backing and to fill all of the pockets. And I'm not really, nothing at this phase is set in stone, but I would like to put a little journaling card on this insert so that I can tell a story that goes with, that's a very photo dominant page. So I want to make sure I have room for stories. And the Ali Edwards kits have so many beautiful journaling cards that it's really easy to find space to tell all your stories. Now here I went into my stash, so that little stack that you just saw me go through, that's from my own stash from previous kits from Ali Edwards and other companies as well. And but these cards are just beautiful for the photos that I have too, because so many of the photos have these rich, reddy browns and that sort of thing, and these cards have those sorts of shades in them too. So it worked out really well. It was just a happy coincidence here. So even though these are the page protector, the Type C page protector, I'm still using 3x4 cards in places here because they will fit in the 4x6 pocket. I just will have to tape them together, or what I sometimes do is back them onto a grid card. And I'm sticking the ephemera in wherever I can so that I don't forget to use it. I find that if I don't stick the ephemera in my pockets along with the photos and the cards at this phase before I start scrapbooking, what tends to happen is I scrap everything and then I have a whole bunch of ephemera left at the end that I haven't used. So I really try to spread it through the pages at this phase. And I'm thinking about both color schemes, but even more important than color schemes, I'm thinking about the messaging on these cards and how they fit with the stories that I plan to tell in these parts of the pages, right? Because my Project Life pages tend to be quite a mishmash. Like they don't often have a really strong color scheme. A lot of times it's just a lot of mixed up colors, and I kind of like it that way. Every once in a while I end up with some pages that do look kind of cohesive together. That's usually more an artifact of the kits that I'm using going well together than necessarily me designing it to look like that. Although sometimes I do. Sometimes I go in and I have a sense that I want, for example, I want all these cards, all these pages to have a real crafty feel to them. So I'll use a lot of craft paper and kind of tried to repeat some colors and whatnot. But here I am trying to stay away from a lot of pastel colors because I know that I have all these earthy tones in my photos, and the majority of cards that I've been using have been real earthy tones like those greens and really dark reds and browny colors and stuff. So now here's an exception. This paper with the mason jars on it, it just feels very much like a PEI paper because I don't know, I associate preserves and mason jars and country type things with flowers and stuff. I just associate that with PEI. So even though this color scheme doesn't quite fit, I'm still going to use this paper because I think it's really pretty. I'm going to cut down this ad for the ferry because we did take the ferry. And I've already thrown away the designer strips, so I can't remember who makes that paper, but I suspect it's Dear Lizzie. And these are the travel guidelines. Like, there were quite strict travel guidelines. Yeah, it does look like it was Dear Lizzie. There were quite strict travel guidelines because of COVID-19. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was documented. So I have that Rome stamp set from Ali Edwards. That is a separate purchase. It doesn't actually come in the kit. I do store it with my kit. So I just want to make it clear there that that's a separate purchase. But I really love those story stamp kits. They're not kits, but the story stamps I really love. So I'm really pleased that I got it this time because I ended up using it a lot on these pages. Now, I just did some journaling on some notebook paper that was just sitting beside me, and I'm just going to cut it into strips and put it along the bottom here. I'll read you what these strips say. It says, after 4 months of shutdown and 2 months of gradual reopening, we were eager to go anywhere. Well, anywhere in the Atlantic Canada bubble. So we are allowed to travel between provinces in Atlantic Canada without having to isolate and quarantine for 14 days. So if we travel anywhere else in Canada or outside of Canada, although I don't know if we're even able to travel outside of Canada, maybe we are, but it's definitely discouraged. We would have to isolate for 14 days when we got there and then do our trip and then come home and isolate for 14 days as well. However, because Atlantic Canada doesn't have many cases and we've been kind of working together to be able to travel within our region just so that we can, you know, enjoy our summer after such a stressful and difficult spring, we are able, like, our provinces have made this agreement basically, and so we were limited in where we could travel this year because we can't afford to take that much time off. This was basically a 4-day trip, but it's nice to be able to go someplace so beautiful and to have a place like PEI basically just in our own backyard, basically, because it's just the province right next door to us. So I am just using some, I believe, Narwhal ink there. Yes, it is Narwhal by Lawn Fawn. And the stamps that I'm using there, this is a really great stamp set. It's from Ali Edwards, and I don't have a name of it, but if you go to her website, you'll see it in her smaller sets of stamps. They're really nice. And then the Rome Story Kit, it did come with all of these little adorable strips. And so I'm going to put these on the fairy insert here. And one of them says out of office, the other says fresh air, and I'm just going to nest them around or nestle them, I guess, around the letters in the word take. And then just under the ferry, I'm going to put one that says let's go. Let's just go. We did plan this trip quite quickly, and so let's just go really does apply to our trip here. And so there, first insert is done, and that's going to kind of kick off this section of my travel project life. This card says Rome, and then it says the options that you could click off are gone for the weekend, off to vacation, and a quick getaway. So I clicked off a quick getaway, and then I'm journaling here with my Sharpie pen. It says, if we traveled outside our bubble, we would have had to self-isolate for 14 days when we arrived, then have our vacation and self-isolate another 14 days when we got home. Ain't nobody got time for that. Plus, PEI is a wonderful place to get away to. I love my Sharpie pen. It doesn't bleed as much as a Sharpie marker, so you can't really use them interchangeably, but the Sharpie pen is a great journaling pen. So this picture of the cormorants flying off, this was, they're flying off by the ferry on the Nova Scotia side. And these little sticker tags from Ali Edwards that came in the kit, in the Rome kit, are really perfect for this project. I'm just looking up how to spell cormorants. I thought it was spelled with a K, so I'm glad I looked it up because it's actually spelled with a C. And I'm labeling this, it says destined to Rome is what's printed already on the tag, and I'm just putting in there cormorants taking off from the ferry term, and I just put term because I didn't have enough room to put terminal. And then I just underlined it to make it feel kind of anchored on the page. And now I'm grabbing this photo of Scott and I. It's a little selfie that we took as we were waiting for the ferry to come. So you park your car and then you have to wait. You're supposed to wait in your car because of COVID-19, but we did have to go to the bathroom. So like nothing is open. You can't go get anything. The store there and canteen like area is not open at all, but they do have this like route to go to the bathroom, so that everybody goes the same direction into the bathroom and everybody goes the same direction out of the bathroom. And so we did get out of our car because the kids had to use the bathroom. So now this is a stamp set, a stamp from the Rome stamp set, and it says life with you is one big adventure. And I like how that looks up in the sky behind us. I did use my Misty tool to position that stamp just in case I had to double stamp it, which I did. It shifted a little tiny bit, so it's a little bit offset in the stamping, but that's okay. Now I'm just having a look here at what I've got to decorate these cards with, and I'm not going to go overboard on decorating because I have a lot of pages to do, but I am going to take my time. I am in no rush here, even though this is a pretty big project. I find it just not enjoyable when I rush, so it's better for me to just take my good old time. And that's, I mean, I'm here for the process, not to just have finished pages. So I really enjoy this. This one says explore, and then this one says wander. And there are so many of these little flags in this kit that you can really use them. You don't have to be sparing with them. Like you can just use them freely and not worry about running out. They're going to be all through my pages. Now this is a little screenshot of the Snapchat map. I noticed Sophie and I were looking at Snapchat when we were on the ferry, and it showed us in a boat in the middle of the Northumberland Strait going across to PEI. So I took a screenshot of it to add to my project life. Now here is what I normally do, which is I put, when I'm putting two 3x4 cards in a 4x6 pocket, I just back them onto a plain grid card. So they still look like they're two separate cards, but there's, you know, they stay put in the envelope in the little pocket. Because if you don't do that, they tend to shift around and move, and they can even fall out of the page. So here I am going into my stash. So these little white IKEA containers I keep in a drawer right beside me as I'm scrapbooking. I have a little bin for hard embellishments, like little acrylic pieces, and then I have another one that's all dedicated to softer embellishments, which is primarily rubber pieces. That white geotag came in the kit, but this Summer Vibes, I'm pretty sure it's from Freckled Fawn from quite some time ago. This is multimedia matte that I'm using. I don't usually use that glue, but I'm using it here. I find that the little opening of the glue is a little bit bigger than what I'm used to with the Tombow glues, and so I find it a little bit harder to control than Tombow. Although I do like it. I like that it's not a two-way glue. Like Tombow is a two-way glue, so that makes it it dries tacky. It never dries completely dry. So on this card, which says adventure, and it's just basically a picture of a tag, it says adventures out there. And then my journaling says the ferry ride was fun. We wore masks and social distanced. The cafeteria was open, so we got snacks. Sophie was a little nervous, but she did it. And now here's I'm about to make a mistake. I'm grabbing for my roller date stamp, which doesn't have a year. I've got it on a blank space for the year because I haven't updated my roller date stamps since the year changed, and none of them go to 2020. None of the ones that I have go to 2020. So here I am, and for some reason I stamped the 72nd of August instead of the 27th. And I don't know why the roller date stamp allows you to do that. Like usually they only go 1, 2, and 3 in the first spot to keep you from doing something like that. But anyhow, it is what it is. And I just stamped over at 27 just to make it look like it's just messy. And I stamped a whole bunch of them. I'm looking for some labels now because I want to cover up the majority of this big, bold red umbrella that is prominent in this photo. I don't want to cover Scott's hat, but I do want to cover most of the red umbrella. And that'll give me a little place to do some documenting. So here I'm writing, Nana and Papa met us at the ferry terminal and took this pic. In case you're wondering why we have a picture of us, because in the days of COVID, you can't really like give your phone to somebody and say, can you take our picture? Because nobody wants to touch anything that you've touched. But Nana and Papa didn't mind. So here is, I'm flipping over to the next page already. And this is a photo of a statue in Charlottetown that we came upon. I took a picture of this photo because it is Sir John A. Macdonald, who is, first of all, he is the namesake of Liv's new high school that she's going to. So she's going to Sir John A. Macdonald High School, which we generally just call Sir John A. And also Sir John A. Macdonald is in the news quite a bit these days. He's one of those people who is pretty controversial in terms of the statues that we have of him. And there's a big discussion in Canada about whether we should be celebrating people like him, who was a big part of the residential schools in coming to be in Canada. And, you know, not to kind of like erase history or rewrite history, but just, you know, like the history that I learned was really whitewashed. Like I didn't really learn about that at all until recently when I've been an adult. So I thought that it might be good for me to take this picture because the statue might not be there next time we go to PEI. Who knows how long it'll be. And also I think that Liv might be doing a discussion of that in school this year, I'm guessing, because at some point she's going to take Mi'kmaq studies and at school, because that's a required course. And also her school is named after Sir John A. Macdonald. So at some point they might discuss changing the name of the school, because they've changed a couple of names of schools around here, schools that were named after other historical people who were not good. And so I just thought it might be good to have a photo that we actually took and to remember that we saw this statue here and kind of talked about it. So I drew from my stamp set. It's by Studio L2E, and I call it my bad news stamp set. It has some swear words and a couple of other things. And so it says, "What the Beep" is the stamp that I chose to use. And then I continued the title with letter stickers there, and you saw me color in some in black just for emphasis. And it says, "What the Beep is he doing here?" And then my journaling says, we see this statue of SJAM differently in light of all the discussion about him and his role in residential schools in Canada. Should we even have statues of someone like this? And a question mark. And my purpose here is to kind of, I guess, generate a conversation with the reader, as opposed to telling the reader what to think about it, but more the idea of discussing these things instead of, you know, being set in your opinions already. Like, let's talk about it before we decide what we want to do here. So here I am with my fish and chips picture, and I'm going to put it on this beautiful diagonal striped paper, or it's a card, which I really, really love, but I'm feeling like it's not quite enough. So I'm going to put a stamp here, and I think I'm going to put "On the Menu." Is that the one I'm going to pick? I have these foodie stamps by Kelly Perky, a couple of sets of them, and I really love them. So I took off the photo so that I can do some proper stamping. Oh, this one is from the Eating Out set. And it says "Local Favorite." And so I stamped it a little bit offset, and then I thought what I would do is repeat it so it looks like it says "Local Favorite, Local Favorite." And there's Rocky. Please don't step on my ink pad, Rocky. That would be a nightmare. He is very heavy and very difficult to move, but I was able to move him. It's a little bit tricky with this one because I didn't really plan the fact that I was going to go off of the page with it when I used my MISTI, but anyways, it's fine. And then that looked so good, but I really just decided I'm just going to keep on stamping, and I'm going to stamp in all of these stripes. So the first one said "Favorite, local favorite," and then the next one said "On the Menu," and that was also from the Eating Out set. This one is from the Foodie stamp set from Kelly Perky. All of these are Kelly Perky. And this one says "I ate this." And of course the photo is going to cover part of this. I just have to put a little "I" there so it looks like it repeats. I don't want to have a little gap there. And I'm trying to mix up the fonts so that I've got kind of like small fonts mixed in with big fonts and whatnot. This one says "It was delicious." And so I'm just drawing from the three. Oh, this one is called "Bon Appetit," and then one is called "Foodie," and then the other one is called "Eating Out." So this "Bon Appetit," I've used this stamp so much. I love this stamp. And I like how that just adds quite a bit of boldness to this. And it's going to look like a pattern paper, basically. This one says "Bon Appetit" as well. You're not going to be able to tell, but that's what it says. And now I think I have 3 more stripes that I need to fill in with whatever food-related words I can find. And so for this one, I'm putting "Eat, Drink, and Be Merry." I'm just lining it up across the bottom so that you see more of that nice green stripe as well. And that's what I did with all of the skinny ones, was I just kind of lined them up on the bottom. And now this one says "Local Favorite," I think. And then I think I'm going to do "On the Menu" again. So I did repeat some of them because I just didn't have enough to do all different ones. And then I'll put the photo right in the middle, and isn't that nice? But you know what? It's not, it's missing something. Hang on a second. It's too, it disappears into the background too easily. So this photo really needs some matting. And there's Lila, cat number 2. So it needs some matting. So I just took, I think that is a card. Yeah, it is. It's a hip kit card that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use because it's really pastel-y plaid, and I never use those. So I'm just going to sacrifice it and use it for a mat. Lila really wants some love in here. And that is about as far as I made it on my first session of scrapbooking, but keep an eye out on my channel because I will be uploading the second session pretty soon. So take care and have a really great scrappy week.